After all, my principal hobby is the conjuring of demons, while my companion, Korbal Broach, explores the mysteries of life and death and all that lies in between. Is it not a given that we will all experience a plethora of peculiarities during the course of our adventures? Indeed, would you have it any other way?
The First Collected Tales of Bauchelain and Korbal Broach by Steven Erikson. If you've never heard of Steven Erikson or his Malazan Empire books, then do you even read fantasy? You cannot roll a d20 without someone recommending these books to you. I've read a few Malazan Empire novels in the series, and I found the overall plot to be a bit difficult to follow at times. There are a lot of characters and different settings to keep track of, but every scene has a tasty nugget of enjoyment somewhere in there, some splash of surprise and characterization. Erikson seems to shine when he's crafting character interactions and inventing new corners of his universe to explore, and I think that's why this is my favorite book of his that I've ever read. Every side character is quirky and surprising, and there's a ton of variety to the settings and the characters. I repeat myself, I'm going to say character a lot in this video. Erikson has a rich imagination, and he gives it free rein, which I think is the only way someone can write as many of these Malazan books as he's written. I don't know how anybody can write so many books in a single series, but he's keeping it fresh. He's actually making it work with new stuff and new interesting things to say, and there's even more of that in this standalone, I was going to call it a novel, but I guess it's 3 novellas, about who would otherwise be these side characters and who are kind of side characters in the series itself, the Malazan Empire series. Among my many favorite things about this book is that it stands alone. I like variety in my reading diet. I don't like to have to consult Wikipedia pages to figure out who's who and what's what and where's where, how does the magic system work. I just want to read a book, have it be completed, and I want to move on to new experiences. And this lets me do that. You don't need to know anything about Erikson, about the Malazan universe, to enjoy this book to its fullest. Bauchelain and Korbal Broach mixes the cartwheeling character and creativity of Godstock with the irreverent and brash dialogue of John Scalzi's The Collapsing Empire. And I don't like to normally make direct comparisons between books, but I think Bauchelain and Korbal Broach is better. I want to say that it's kind of equivalent to the Harry Potter universe, but for adults. So you've got your semi-childish, but also creative and memorable things like Every Flavor Beans and The Whomping Willow, but now it's spiced up with sex and murder. There's an impressive pantheon of gods, a diverse bestiary of creatures, menagerie of demons and fae. It's bloody, horny, crass, arrogant, but most of all, it's actually really funny. It's not full-on comedy like Terry Pratchett or Douglas Adams, but it's got at least one foot in the goofiness and experiments with deeper dives. There are plenty of gaffes and miscommunications, fumbles and foibles and malarkey. The book is packed with scoundrels and rapscallions, cutthroats and brigands, and it's a delight. For me, it strikes a perfect balance between the intrigue and the action and the dialogue and the comedy and the characters. This was one of my favorite books in a long time. So what's not to like? The third out of the 3 novellas was by far my least favorite. In my opinion, it leans too hard into the satire and loses the drama and character that make the first 2 novellas so good. Also, it's preachy, which is ironic because the whole point of the 3rd novella is that it's making a mockery of health and fitness moralizers, telling people how to live and judging those who don't live up to their standards. But by telling the reader not to listen to people telling you how to live, it's kind of doing the thing that it seeks to parody. I don't know, maybe it was just me. I am a well-known fitness freak, so maybe it hit too close to home and I'm exactly the enemy, the bad guy in the 3rd novella. But no, I don't know. I think it wasn't that. I think I'm right about the story being weaker in the 3rd one. In conclusion, this is pure joy. It's madcap fantasy fun, and I highly recommend it.
I want to add in that if you like Bauchelain and Korbal Broach, you'll love Gideon the Ninth, and vice versa. Consider checking out that review, link in the description. And then Shia has a few thoughts of her own that she'd like to share with you. I like that this book is packed with sweaty, stinky humans. Humans and their flavors are my favorite. I don't like the parts on the boat. Water is cold and I disapprove. 4 wags out of 5. The king's court magus wasn't a man of the streets, but the cloth at the knees of his white pantaloons now showed intimate familiarity with the grimy, greasy cobblestones. Gould had little respect for coddled mages, too remote from human affairs, bookish and naive, and slow to grow up. Ofen was nearly 60, but he had the face of a toddler. Alchemy at work, of course, in vanity's name no less. "Stool Ofen," Gould called, catching the man's watery eyes. "You finished your reading, then?" An insensitive question, but they were the kind Gould most liked to ask.